Hello, and welcome to Ngo and Son's series of informational videos on changes to the Selective High School Placement Test. I'm Dr. Truong Ngo, the principal of Ngo and Son's Academic Coaching. The New South Wales Selective School Test is taken by Year 6 students to gain entry to a selective school for Year 7 to 12. The test is written by Cambridge Assessment, who also write assessment tasks for education institutions worldwide. This test will be completed online from 2022 onwards. The test will consist of 4 sections: mathematical reasoning, reading, writing, and thinking skills, previously known as general ability. In this video, we will be taking a closer look at the thinking skills component. This section consists of 40 questions to be answered in 40 minutes. This diagram here breaks down the thinking skills component into subtopics. Broadly speaking, there are 2 main categories: problem solving, which consists of data interpretation, spatial awareness, and mathematical reasoning. These questions can often be taught as you would for mathematics questions. The second category is logical reasoning. These questions have a greater reliance on English skills, whereby students will be provided with a passage and logical deductions need to be made from the information provided. In this particular presentation, I will not be talking specifically about each of the subsection, as this may be too technical, but suffice to say that this is the framework that the authors will be using to write questions for our students. So what is the purpose of placing thinking skill questions in the selective school exam? Thinking skills have been placed in the exam to allow students who are creative to shine and to reduce the reliance on logic and reasoning. Now, in a way, I believe that this is partly correct, but it's also partly incorrect. This thinking skills component examines a student's ability to think critically. It looks at the student's ability to process information, follow logic, filter what's important from what is not, recognize patterns, and make an evaluation. So the logic component is more pronounced, not less, but the logic involves more English statements rather than mathematical concepts. The test will definitely favor those who are strong in English and those who are stronger at thinking logically. Why are thinking skills important? Well, education is slowly moving away from the traditional subjects whereby students are expected to memorize formulas and regurgitate information. Assessment tasks now require students to be able to evaluate the information they are given. These types of questions are not just found in the selective school exam, but they're also seen in high school as well. So for example, students who are planning to do medicine have to sit an exam called the UCAT. And this UCAT exam contains thinking skill questions. Now, another place we can find thinking skill question is in Extension 2 Mathematics, in a topic called Logic, which, by the way, can be used to solve some of the questions found in the selective school exam. The World Economic Forum estimates that about 65% of students entering primary schools now will be employed in a job that does not currently exist. This tells us that our children's future employers will be looking for candidates who can adapt to different situations and possess the ability to analyze new information. Consequently, logical reasoning tests are becoming a common way of assessing potential workplace candidates. So these types of questions are now more commonly used in exams. So now I've spoken to you in general what thinking skills is all about. Let's take a look at some examples that may be given in the selective school exams. There will be 3 examples that I will go through with you. I would like you to note that for each question, there are techniques that can be used to solve the problem. The first example says, in a survey of television viewers, everyone who likes volleyball likes skiing. Everyone who likes skiing likes cycling, but no one who likes skiing likes gymnastics. Darren, Amanda, Lee, and Jess all took part in the survey. Based on the above information, which one of the following must be true? If Darren likes cycling, he also likes skiing. If Amanda does not like gymnastics, she does not like cycling. If Lee does not like volleyball, he does not like skiing. If Jess likes volleyball, she does not like gymnastics. So in this example, you have a group of people who were surveyed and you were told of the relationship between people who played volleyball, who skied, who cycled, and who did gymnastics. Basically, the problem is asking the student to see if they understand from the paragraph what the relationships are. I'm quite sure many students, and dare I say parents, will find this question confusing. Students at Ngo and Sons will be taught about Euler's diagram. Now, Euler was a famous Swiss mathematician who used shapes to categorize information. By using Euler's diagram, the information would look like this. The information is neatly represented by circles. Each circle represents a group of people with a common characteristics. By looking at this diagram, we can see those who play volleyball cannot be involved in gymnastics. So the answer is D. That if Jess plays volleyball, she cannot like gymnastics. This is represented by the fact that the circle containing volleyball does not intersect with the circle containing gymnastics. So now let's look at example number 2. In example number 2, it says, Muhammad's school wanted to find out how different sports affected people's fitness levels. They made all the best sports people take a fitness test. This is what they found. The fittest runners were fitter than the fittest swimmers. All the gymnasts were fitter than most of the runners. All the swimmers were fitter than all the gymnasts. Which one of these sentences can be concluded from the above information? The swimmers' average fitness was better than those of other groups. The range of fitness levels was greatest amongst the runners. Runners and swimmers would generally be fitter than gymnasts. And indeed, there was less of a range of fitness levels amongst the gymnasts than amongst the swimmers. This question gives us relationships between the fitness of swimmers, runners, and gymnasts. If you read this question in a superficial way, you might interpret this question as saying runners are fitter than swimmers and swimmers are fitter than gymnasts. But then, gymnasts are fitter than runners. This would be illogical. Students will be taught to read the information carefully and use visual aid such as a bar graph to represent the information. Now, using a bar graph, the information would look like this. We can see here that there is a range of fitness. The gymnasts are definitely all fitter than the swimmers, but the runners have a wide range of fitness. Some runners will be fitter than swimmers and gymnasts, but there will be some runners that are less fit. Runners will have a wider range of fitness than the others. Hence, the answer is B. The range of fitness levels was the greatest amongst the runners. Now let's look at example 3. It says, society requires certain organizations to behave in the interests of the people. Hospitals, schools, charity organizations, and other institutions may well have public purposes and be quite successful at achieving them, even though each of their individual staff members does what he or she does only for selfish reasons. Throughout history, there have been many instances where these companies played an invaluable part in the community. Which of the following generalization is most clearly illustrated by the passage? A. What is true of some organization may not necessarily be true for all such organizations. B. An organization can have a property that not all of its members possess. C. People may claim to do good, but they are selfish. D. Selfish people make good companies. Now, this question is a type of question called identifying the principle. In these questions, students are asked to find a general rule, definition, or value that can be applied to different situations. It could ask you about a rule a person uses to make a decision, or a rule about how to drive a car. For these types of questions, students will be told to look for sentences that contain "it is essential" or "it is crucial" or "even though" and other key phrases. This passage contains a key phrase, "even though," and students will focus in on this, as this phrase is often attached to the rule. For this particular question, the rule the passage is trying to convey is that organizations may be doing good, but the people that make up the organization may be selfish. That is, the organization and its member may not share a common property. So the answer is B. An organization can have a property that not all of its members possess. Now that we've seen some question, the issue is, can thinking skills be taught? And how can nsbc help? Many subjects can be learned through memorizing and regurgitating facts. These subjects are easy to teach and easy to master. Thinking skills, however, require students to be critical and show maturity. So at Ngo and Sons, thinking skills will be taught based on 3 pillars. The first is technique. Students will be exposed to questions from all different categories. Each category will have unique techniques. Understanding these techniques will help students have a sense of direction when approaching these types of questions. The second is spaced repetition. Now, spaced repetition is when you learn the same material in sessions spread over a long period of time. A study done at the University of California in San Diego in 2007 found that Year 8 history students who used a spaced approach to learning retained almost double the material compared to those that studied the same material in consolidated units. So the take-home message from this is that the more time students come across the same information, the more likely they are to understand and remember it. The third pillar is reading. Reading quickly, accurately, and having good general knowledge is vital. In this section of the exam, students are expected to answer 40 questions in 40 minutes. Some abstracts can be very long, convey sequences of logic that contain multiple steps, and have information that are irrelevant. Students are required to understand the logic, determine what is useful and what is not in the passage, and be able to make a judgment. To improve reading speed, to be able to recall facts after reading, and to have a good general knowledge, students at Ngo and Sons will be encouraged to read from a young age and to read from a wide variety of sources, such as magazines, online news sites, and books of all genres. So focusing on these 3 pillars will optimize their chances of being successful in dealing with thinking type questions. Now, let's have a look at how you can help your child become a better critical thinker. Critical thinking is about teaching students to question and evaluate and judge information they are given. They need to do this in school, at work, and in general life. To improve thinking skills, students will require the support not only of their teachers, but also of parents. So parents should find time to read with their children, share their experiences, and put time out to discuss and encourage their children to question what they are reading. Even playing board games, painting, solving problems or puzzles, and helping with projects will allow their child to maximize their potential. All this must start from a young age, and through time, they will develop a good habit of wanting and needing to analyze what they are reading or experiencing. There are really some fantastic books that are available that parents could read to learn more on how they can help their children. The ones that I really recommend are Brainchild: Secrets to Unlocking Your Child's Potential by Shen-Li Lee. Another one is Unlocking Your Child's Genius by Andrew Fuller. And Teaching Philosophy Through Children's Literature by Thomas E. Waltenberg. Thinking skills can be very challenging for many students, but with having technique, exposure to questions, and getting more reading hours under their belt, students will be able to increase their chances of mastering this subject. Now, I'd like to thank parents for listening and would like to end this presentation with a thought. Success can only come hand in hand with having great supportive parents, and the best thing you can do for your child is to make them think about thinking.